All right, let's jump to the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. And joining us right now from The Athletic, he writes about the NBA and analytics, is Seth Partnow. Seth, thank you for joining us. It's Cattles Ramie, Sactown Sports. We appreciate your time. Let's talk about the news of the day. Lots of Bradley Beal chatter. The trade talk is heating up. When you look at Bradley Beal, especially analytically, statistically, the last couple of years, how much sense would Beal make for a contender to you?
That's a question not just about his ability, but frankly about his contract. And,
right.
And I think he's certainly a player who, at this point in his career, both from a kind of a per minute standpoint when he's actually playing, and the fact that he struggled to stay on the court doesn't really come close to justifying one of the largest salaries in the NBA. Doesn't mean he's not someone you'd be willing to trade for. It's just I don't know how much you should be willing to give up for the opportunity to continue to pay him at that level.
You know, when you hear a Bradley Beal is out there, we've heard Dame Lillard chatter, we've heard Jaylen Brown chatter, and then you start hearing the usual suspects of teams that might be in on these guys. When you look at the salary cap situations of some of these contenders around the league that might want to add a superstar via trade, who's in the best position to do so, would you say?
With the new CBA rules coming into effect, I would almost say none of the above.
Really?
The ability of already high payroll teams to add significant talent, both mechanically and from an owner writing a check standpoint, is going to be pretty significantly reduced coming forward with the I don't know how much you guys have gotten into this CBA, but kind of the second apron amount, which starts to have all kinds of mechanical limitations on how you can add players once your payroll exceeds a certain amount.
Seth Partnow is with us. He's from The Athletic. Seth, again, you're an analytical guy. Have certain teams, we had Jay Triano, assistant coach of the Kings, on the show earlier this year, and I asked him about taking the right threes, and Coach Triano's response was, there's no such thing as a bad three. Have teams like the Kings leaned too heavily on three-point shooting as the league has evolved?
I think the league as a whole has probably hit about the highest level we're going to see. Part of that is recognition that there are some threes that are okay shots, but maybe we can find a better one later in the shot clock. There used to be, a come down first available three, chuck it up. Well, if you're an average shooter taking a semi-contested three in transition, maybe we should turn that one down and find something a little better. As well as defenses have gotten better at limiting and contesting threes, as sort of everyone has realized the importance of doing so. I think 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, the statement that there's no such thing as a bad three was closer to right than it is what was wrong. Probably we've gotten past that to the point of needing to be more selective in terms of both who's taking them and, what kinds, off the dribble versus catch and shoot, how open do you have to be. There are some guys who are much more effective from the corner than they are from, above the break. So that's a statement that probably was once mostly true and may not be anymore.
So where do those shots go? Is the mid-range coming back? We had Jokic, a big man, winning a title this year. Giannis a few years ago did a lot of his work around the basket. Are we going to see the return of the big man? Where do those threes end up going?
I think it may not be that so much as the league has been playing at about as high a pace as it's ever been. And that means we have more early shots than ever. And I kind of think that some of the threes that maybe should go away are those early clock threes that I don't know. I don't like it when commentators talk about settling for a three, because often a three is a pretty good shot. But sometimes if you take just an okay shot with 16 on the shot clock, we could have done better. And so maybe you play that possession out a little bit longer, and it ends up still being a 3-pointer, but it ends up being, an open feet set catch and shoot three instead of an on the move semi-contested one that you could have taken earlier in the possession.
Seth Partnow from The Athletic is with us here on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Cattles Ramie, Sactown Sports on this Wednesday. Seth, one question I have had, and I'm glad we have you on today, because I haven't found anyone who could give me a good answer, and I think you could be the guy. we keep watching these 2-for-1 strategies play out. And just from the eye test, a lot of times it seems like the first shot of the 2 for the 1 in that is a bad shot. Is there statistical data that backs up the 2-for-1 strategy, or are teams just taking 2 bad shots in the name of getting 2 shots instead of 1?
The 2 bad shots could still be better than the 1 shot in between, but the math is a lot closer than 2-for-1 implies. It's really closer to like 1.5 to 1. Honestly, it depends much more on if you have the guys who can reliably get that first shot off in the right time window. If you've got Kyle Lowry is someone who throughout his career has been very good at that. You mentioned Dame Lillard earlier, Steph Curry, players like that who can get to a reasonable pull-up basically at the right time in the quarter are the players you should work with. The difference between if you correctly got a 2-for-1 at the right time every single time and you never tried to is maybe about a win every 2 seasons. It's not nothing, but it's not a massive effect. I think probably it's something that more is made of than needs to be.
What do you think is the greatest need or void for this Kings team, and who do you see out there as realistic options on the market to fill that void?
I think that's certainly more paint presence on defense. Who that is a tough one because one of the challenges of building around Domas Sabonis is finding the right person who can both allow him to effectively play defense, but also protect the paint. Certainly as a shot blocker or rim protector. I mean, we kind of tried a version of that in Indy with Miles Turner, and it didn't always work great. So I'm not really sure who that is. But that's the player that the single player they probably most need. And then just like everybody else, they need, more big wings who can defend and shoot.
Last one for you from me, Seth. Keegan Murray, a lot of noise about Keegan here in Sacramento this past season. What do you think his ceiling is as an NBA player? And did that ceiling change for you throughout this past season at all?
He had a very impressive rookie year to me. In terms of what his ceiling is, I'm not entirely certain. Part of that is the Kings being as surprisingly good as they were last year allowed him to slot into a sort of a defined role that fit what he was ready to do. And that's not something that really happens a lot for rookies picked that high. They're usually going to worse teams and being asked to do a lot more. So it's a little bit unclear because we don't know a lot about what he would look like if he becomes more of a primary offensive creator. I know that was certainly the role he played in college, but that's kind of the role that most draft picks play in college, and how well that's going to translate in the NBA. I don't think we know yet. I think this year the Kings would be wise to give him some of those opportunities and kind of see if he has the juice to develop in that area. That's something that, very different player, but an interesting part about Mikal Bridges in Brooklyn was seeing that he actually had a little bit more of that ability than he was able to show in Phoenix. And that, makes him a completely different player, and letting Murray possibly grow into that or seeing if he can is, I think, an important thing for the Kings over the next couple of years.
Great stuff, Seth. Fantastic. Have a good weekend, my man, and let's do this again soon. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
All right, there goes Seth Partnow from The Athletic. Again, he's an NBA writer, also dives into the analytics. He was on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda.
You're a one-stop Honda shop.